College. For many, it's a time of new beginnings, freedom, and unforgettable experiences. But for some, it's also the place where the darkest of secrets hide in plain sight. Tonight, I'm sharing 3 true college horror stories that'll make you think twice before stepping onto a campus at night. These stories aren't just legends, they're real. And they'll haunt you long after you hear them. Story 1, The Strange Roommate. It was my freshman year at a well-known university, and like most people, I was nervous about the whole roommate situation. You never really know who you're going to end up with. At first, everything seemed fine. My roommate, Jake, was friendly, kept to himself, and didn't cause any issues. But after a few weeks, I started noticing something strange. Jake would disappear at night. I mean, completely vanish. I'd wake up to find his bed empty, the door locked, and he wouldn't come back until the early hours of the morning. When I asked him about it, he'd just brush it off, saying he was studying late or out for a walk. But the worst part? Sometimes, I'd hear faint whispering in the middle of the night. I couldn't understand what it was, but it was definitely coming from his side of the room. And one night, I woke up to find Jake standing by my bed, staring at me with that blank, hollow look in his eyes. He didn't say a word. He just stood there. I froze in fear. When I finally gathered the courage to ask him what he was doing, he said he'd been sleepwalking. But there was something about his tone, something that didn't sit right with me. The next day, I went to the RA to ask for a room change. But when I returned to our dorm later that evening, I found out something horrifying. Jake had been reported missing earlier that week. Apparently, he had been seen walking into the woods near campus and had never returned. I couldn't believe it. But that's not the worst part. The night after I moved out, I heard the whispers again. Only this time, they were coming from my new room. Story 2, The Ghost in the Library. There's something about the college library that makes it feel like a haunted place. It's old, the shelves creak, and the lights always flicker at the most inconvenient times. But there's one thing that sets this particular library apart. A friend of mine, Sarah, told me about an experience she had one night while studying alone. She was in the basement section of the library, the quietest place on campus. It was late, and the place was empty. Sarah had been working for hours when she started hearing strange footsteps echoing through the halls. She thought maybe someone else had come in, but when she looked around, the place was completely empty. Confused, she shrugged it off and went back to her studying. But the footsteps came again. Closer this time. She looked up and saw a figure standing at the end of the aisle. A man, tall and thin, dressed in an old-fashioned suit. Sarah froze. The man didn't move, didn't speak, just stared at her with cold, unblinking eyes. And then, just as quickly as he appeared, he vanished. She ran out of the library that night and never went back alone again. The most chilling part of the story? Sarah later found out that the library was built on top of a cemetery. And many students have reported seeing the same man in the same spot she did. Some say he's still waiting for something, but no one knows exactly what. Story 3, The Abandoned Dorm. Everyone knows that every college campus has at least one abandoned building, right? It's usually off-limits, locked up tight. But that never stops curious students from sneaking inside. One evening, a group of us decided to check out the old, abandoned dorm on the edge of campus. The place had been closed off for years, but we'd heard rumors about what went on in there. They said a girl had gone missing from the dorm, and no one had ever found out what happened to her. The building was dark. The air inside felt damp and cold, and the only light we had came from our flashlights. We made our way up to the 3rd floor, where we found an old door, unlocked, surprisingly. Inside, we found remnants of old furniture, broken windows, and discarded belongings. But as we ventured deeper into the dorm, we started to feel off. It was like the walls were closing in on us. Suddenly, one of the guys in our group, Mark, screamed. We turned around to find him standing at the end of the hallway, staring at something with a look of terror on his face. There was a figure, a girl, standing in the hallway. She was dressed in an old-fashioned gown, and her face was pale as death. But the worst part? When we looked away for just a second, the girl was gone. We ran out of the building, but as we looked back, we saw her standing in the window, watching us leave. We never spoke of it again. If you enjoyed these true college horror stories, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe, and ring the bell so you never miss another terrifying tale.